I sacrificed everything for Amanda. 5 years of my life spent working 2 jobs, all to support her dream of becoming a doctor. I postponed my own education, worked until exhaustion, and believed we were building our future together. Then just 1 week after her graduation, I found divorce papers waiting on our kitchen table. No discussion, no warning. Just a cold note saying she had outgrown me. The woman I had given everything to was walking away now, that she no longer needed my support. I signed those papers without a fight and disappeared completely from her life. If you have ever felt betrayed by someone you loved, completely stick around to hear what happened. Before I continue, let me know where you are watching from in the comments, and hit that subscribe button if you want more stories about overcoming life's toughest moments. I met Amanda during my sophomore year of college. I was studying engineering, burning the midnight oil at the campus library when she stumbled in, looking for a quiet place to study for her pre-med finals. There were no empty tables that night, so she asked if she could share mine. Something about her determination and the way she instantly organized her study materials impressed me. We started talking during a brief study break, and I found myself captivated by her passion for medicine and helping others. What began as casual study sessions quickly blossomed into a deep connection. Amanda was brilliant, driven, and had this infectious enthusiasm about becoming a doctor someday. I found myself rearranging my schedule just to spend more time with her. Within 6 months, we were inseparable. Our relationship moved quickly. By the end of that school year, we were talking about our future together. Amanda had been accepted to medical school, and I was so proud of her. When she suggested we get married before she started her program, it seemed perfect. We were young and full of optimism, believing nothing could stand in our way as long as we had each other. The wedding was small but meaningful. Most of our friends thought we were rushing things, but we were certain. I can still picture Amanda in her simple white dress, her eyes shining with dreams of our future. We promised to support each other through everything, for better or worse. I meant every word. Reality hit hard when we calculated the cost of medical school. Tuition alone was staggering, not to mention living expenses. Amanda had received some scholarship money, but it barely made a dent. After long discussions, I made a decision that would alter the course of my life. I would put my own education on hold, work full-time, and support us while she pursued her dream. It seemed like a reasonable sacrifice at the time. After all, once she became a doctor, I could go back and finish my degree. I found a day job at a local construction company. The pay was decent, but not enough to cover everything. So I picked up evening shifts, waiting tables at a restaurant near the medical school. Our life became a carefully orchestrated routine. I would leave for the construction site at 6 a.m. work, until 4, change clothes in my car, and head straight to the restaurant for a 6 to midnight shift. Some nights I would come home to find Amanda already asleep, surrounded by textbooks and notes. We moved into a tiny apartment in a rough neighborhood because it was all we could afford. Our car was constantly breaking down. Dinner often consisted of whatever leftovers I could bring home from the restaurant. But I never complained. This was temporary, I told myself. This was an investment in our future. Those first few years were challenging but brought us closer. I would quiz Amanda on medical terminology while we ate breakfast. She would call me during my lunch breaks, excited about something she had learned in class. On rare free weekends, we would splurge on a movie or a cheap dinner out, treasuring those moments of normalcy. During her second year, things began to change subtly. Amanda started spending more time with her study group. These new friends came from wealthy families with medical backgrounds. They would go out for drinks after study sessions to places I could never afford to join them. When I expressed concern about our dwindling time together, Amanda assured me it was just the pressure of medical school. She needed to build these connections for her future career. Our 3rd anniversary came and went without acknowledgement from her. When I mentioned it the next day, Amanda seemed genuinely surprised, then dismissed it as unimportant compared to her upcoming exams. I swallowed my disappointment and made excuses for her. Medical school was stressful. She was under tremendous pressure. By year 4, the distance between us was growing. Amanda rarely asked about my day anymore. When I would share stories about work, she would cut me off with comments like, "You would not have to work so hard if you had finished your degree." These remarks stung, but I brushed them aside. Just stress talking, I told myself. Her clinical rotations began, and Amanda was rarely home. When she was, she spoke endlessly about the brilliant doctors she was working with, especially Dr. James Richardson, a respected cardiologist who was taking a special interest in her career. I noticed how her voice changed when she mentioned him, how she started dressing differently for the days she would be working with his team. Still, I trusted her completely. My body was breaking down from exhaustion. Some mornings I could barely drag myself out of bed to face another 16-hour workday. But every time I felt like giving up, I would remind myself that we were almost there. Just a few more months, and Amanda would graduate. Then everything would get better. The day Amanda graduated from medical school was one of immense pride for me. I sat in the audience, surrounded by families of other graduates, feeling somewhat out of place in my only suit, frayed at the edges from too many wearings. But none of that mattered when I watched Amanda walk across that stage. She had done it. We had done it. 5 years of sacrifice had finally paid off. The week that followed was a blur of celebration. Amanda was accepted into a prestigious residency program at the same hospital where she had done her rotations. I took a rare few days off work to help her celebrate. For the first time in years, I allowed myself to believe that the hardest part was behind us. Soon, Amanda would be earning a good salary. I could cut back on my hours, maybe even return to school and finish my own degree. On a Tuesday afternoon, I decided to surprise Amanda by coming home early. I picked up ingredients to cook her favorite meal, thinking we could have a quiet dinner together before her residency began the following week. When I walked into our apartment, the silence felt strange. Amanda should have been home preparing for her new position. I found the manila envelope on the kitchen table. No note, just my name, written on the front in her precise handwriting. Inside were divorce papers, already filled out with her information. There was a short letter, clinical in its efficiency, explaining that she had secured her own apartment closer to the hospital and would be moving out that weekend. The floor seemed to drop from beneath my feet. I sat there reading and rereading the documents, trying to make sense of what was happening. This had to be a mistake. We had plans, promises, a life we had built together. When Amanda finally came home, she seemed unsurprised to find me sitting there with the papers spread before me. Her face held an expression I had never seen before, cold determination, mixed with something like relief. "I was going to tell you tonight," she said, setting down her bag as if this were any normal evening. "I think we both know this has been coming for a while." "No," I replied, my voice barely audible. I did not know this was coming at all. Amanda sighed the way she might, at a patient who was being difficult. "Chandler, be realistic. We have grown apart. I have changed. My life is moving in a direction that frankly you cannot keep up with." 5 years, I whispered. 5 years I gave you. Everything I had. And I appreciate that she said, though her tone suggested anything but gratitude. "That is why I am not asking for alimony. You can keep whatever you have in your accounts. I just want a clean break." It was then that I noticed the expensive watch on her wrist. One I had definitely not bought her. "Is there someone else?" Her hesitation told me everything. "Dr. Richardson and I have become close," she finally admitted. "He understands the life I am building. He is established, respected. We share the same goals and aspirations." "The married cardiologist?" I asked, remembering the mention of his wife and children in previous conversations. Amanda flushed. "He is separating from his wife. That is not the point. The point is, I have outgrown this relationship, Chandler. Look at yourself. 5 years, and what have you accomplished? Still working the same construction job, still waiting tables, no degree, no ambition beyond surviving day to day." Each word was like a physical blow. "I put everything on hold for you," I said. "Every dream I had." "That was your choice," she replied coldly. Nobody forced you to give up on yourself. And honestly, that is part of the problem. I need someone who matches my drive, my ambition. Not someone who is content to live paycheck to paycheck in this dump of an apartment. I sat in stunned silence as she continued revealing that she had been planning this exit for months. The residency acceptance was just the final piece. She had already moved most of her important belongings to her new place. The life we had built together had been nothing but a stepping stone for her. In the days that followed, friends and family urged me to fight, to demand compensation for the years I had supported her, to claim a portion of her future earnings that my sacrifice had made possible. Legally, I might have had a case. But the thought of prolonging this pain, of tying myself to someone who could discard me so easily, was unbearable. So I signed the papers without contest. I boxed up what little I truly cared about. Amanda watched with barely concealed impatience as I loaded my old truck, occasionally making comments about how I should leave the furniture, since I had nowhere decent to put it anyway. As I made the final trip to my vehicle carrying a box of books I had never found time to read, Amanda leaned against the doorframe of what had been our home. "You know," she said with a small, smug smile, "Dr. Richardson says I should thank you. Without your support, I might not have made it through med school to meet him." Something inside me hardened in that moment. Without a word, I closed the truck door and started the engine. As I pulled away, I caught a glimpse of Amanda in the rearview mirror. She was laughing, actually laughing, at the sight of me driving away with everything I owned, packed into a rusting pickup truck. That night in a cheap motel room, I made a decision. I would not just leave Amanda. I would disappear completely. The next morning, I closed our joint bank accounts, transferring my modest savings to a new bank. I changed my phone number, deleted my sparse social media presence, and declined to provide a forwarding address to our landlord. I called my employers and quit without notice. By the end of that week, Chandler Walsh had effectively ceased to exist in the life he had known. I pointed my truck west and did not look back. Those first few months alone were the darkest of my life. I found myself in Seattle, about as far from our East Coast life as I could reasonably get. I rented a tiny studio apartment that made our old place look luxurious. The walls were thin enough that I could hear my neighbors arguing, making love, living lives that seemed whole in ways mine no longer was. I found work quickly enough. Construction skills are needed everywhere. The physical labor was actually therapeutic, allowing me to work my body to exhaustion so my mind could rest. Each night I would collapse into bed too tired to think about what I had lost, or the betrayal that still burned like acid in my chest. 3 months into my new life, I made a decision. The old Chandler, the one who put everyone else first and himself last, was gone. I enrolled in night classes at a local community college, determined to finally complete the engineering degree I had abandoned for Amanda. The irony was not lost on me. I was now working and studying just as she had been. But this time, it was for my own future, not someone else. Progress was slow but steady. I worked construction during the day, attended classes at night, and studied on weekends. My social life was practically non-existent. The few friendships I formed were surface level. I kept everyone at arm's length, unwilling to risk the kind of vulnerability that had nearly destroyed me. 2 years into this routine, I had an unexpected breakthrough. A class project caught the attention of my engineering professor, who connected me with a small but growing tech firm looking for interns. The position paid less than construction, but offered flexible hours and valuable experience in my field. I took the risk and accepted. For the first time since leaving Amanda, I felt a spark of ambition beyond mere survival. The internship introduced me to people who knew nothing of my past, who saw me only as a hard-working, intelligent person with potential. Their perception began to reshape my own self-image. I graduated with my engineering degree 4 years after arriving in Seattle. By then, I had already secured a full-time position with the tech firm where I had interned. The day I received my diploma, I allowed myself a rare moment of reflection. Amanda had completed medical school in the same amount of time it had taken me to finish my bachelor's degree, but our paths could not have been more different. Her education had been supported by my sacrifice, Mine had been earned through perseverance while supporting myself. With a stable job and growing confidence, I began to explore life beyond work and study. I discovered a passion for outdoor activities that the Pacific Northwest offered in abundance. Hiking the Cascade Mountains, rock climbing at nearby crags, kayaking in Puget Sound, these activities built both physical strength and a newfound sense of self-reliance. Each summit reached, each rapid navigated reinforced that I could overcome challenges on my own. Dating proved more complicated. Women expressed interest and I occasionally accepted invitations for coffee or dinner. But as relationships threatened to deepen, I would withdraw. The fortress I had built around my heart remained impenetrable. I told myself it was a choice that I preferred independence to vulnerability. Deep down, I knew it was fear. My career advanced steadily. The small tech firm grew, and I grew with it, eventually leading a team of engineers on increasingly complex projects. My salary increased to the point where I could purchase a modest house in one of Seattle's outlying neighborhoods. Nothing ostentatious, but it was mine, bought with money I had earned, secured by no one but myself. I developed a strategy for building wealth that would have seemed impossible during my years with Amanda. Living below my means, I invested consistently in property and the stock market. By my 5th year in Seattle, I owned my home and 2 rental properties. The construction skills that Amanda had dismissed as lacking ambition now saved me thousands in maintenance and improvements. Occasionally, thoughts of my previous life would surface. I would wonder if Amanda had completed her residency, if she and Dr. Richardson were together, if anyone from my past ever thought about what had happened to me. But these wonderings carried no emotional charge anymore. They were like thinking about characters from a book I had read long ago, mildly interesting but ultimately irrelevant to my present. 6 years after my disappearance, the first attempt at contact came. An email from a mutual college friend somehow found its way to my work account. It was brief, asking if I was the same Chandler Walsh she had known years ago, saying that people had been looking for me. I deleted it without responding. More attempts followed. Messages sent through professional networking sites. An inquiry through my employer's general contact form. I ignored them all, reinforcing the barriers between my past and present. My life developed a comfortable rhythm. Meaningful work, financial security, physical activities that challenged and strengthened me, and a small circle of acquaintances who respected my privacy. If there was an emptiness at the center of this existence, I told myself it was a fair trade for peace. Then came the phone calls. At first, just 1 or 2 from an unknown number. I let them go to voicemail, but no message was left. Then they increased in frequency. Sometimes the same number would call multiple times in a day. I blocked it only to have calls start coming from different numbers. Still no messages, just persistent ringing. I changed my phone number, believing it was perhaps just aggressive telemarketing. 2 weeks later, the calls started again. This time there were occasional voicemails, brief, containing just my name, then silence. The voice was distorted, as if the caller was covering the phone or crying. I changed my number again and increased my online privacy settings, suddenly aware of how easily I could be found, despite my years of careful anonymity. 10 years after I had driven away from Amanda with my life packed in a truck, my assistant informed me that a woman had come to the office asking for me. She had refused to leave a name, saying only that it was an urgent, personal matter. I declined to see her and arranged to work from home for the remainder of the week. That evening, I returned to find a note tucked into my front door. The handwriting, even after all these years, was immediately recognizable. The precisely formed letters, the way the lines slanted slightly to the right, it was Amanda's writing unchanged. The note was simple. "Please call me," followed by a phone number. I crumpled it and threw it away. The next day brought flowers to my office, with a card begging for 10 minutes of my time. I donated the arrangement to a nearby nursing home. 3 days later, an overnight package arrived at my home address. A photo album, filled with pictures from our college days and early marriage. I left it unopened in the garage. When I checked my voicemail that evening, I discovered the full extent of her persistence. 169 missed calls over the past several months from various numbers. Some had gone to my cell phone, others to my office line, still others to my home phone, which I rarely used. Most were silent, but the recent ones contained increasingly desperate pleas. "Chandler, please. I know you are there. I know this is your number. I just need to talk to you. It has been 10 years. 10 years, Chandler. At least give me the chance to explain. I have been looking for you for so long. Please, just 10 minutes. That is all I am asking." The final message broke through my defenses. Her voice cracked with genuine emotion as she said, "I understand why you disappeared. I deserve your hatred, but I am not leaving Seattle until I see you. I will wait outside your office every day if I have to." The thought of a daily scene at my workplace of my carefully constructed life being disrupted was unacceptable. I called the number back and arranged to meet at a coffee shop near my office, public neutral territory where I could leave at any time. She was already there when I arrived, seated at a corner table, her hands wrapped around a mug as if seeking warmth despite the mild day. 10 years had changed her. The confident, ambitious woman who had once laughed as I drove away was gone. In her place sat someone whose face showed the lines of stress and disappointment. Her clothes were expensive, but worn her hair shorter and styled more for convenience than fashion. She looked up as I approached, and I saw a flash of something like fear in her eyes. "Chandler," she said, half rising. "You came." "Thank you." I sat across from her, maintaining maximum distance the small table allowed. "You were disrupting my work. I am here to ask you to stop." She flinched at my tone, but nodded. "I understand. I needed to see you." "Why?" The question came out harder than I intended. "What could you possibly need from me? After 10 years, Amanda looked down at her coffee. "To apologize for starters. What I did to you was unforgivable. You are right about that." Her eyes welled with tears. "I was selfish and cruel. I used you, took your support and sacrifice, then discarded you when I thought I had found something better. There is no excuse. And yet, I suspect you are about to offer one." She wiped at her eyes. "Not an excuse. An explanation, maybe. I was so caught up in ambition in the status I thought would make me happy. Dr. Richardson seemed like everything I wanted: successful, respected, connected to all the right people. The married doctor." "Richardson," I reminded her. "Yes." She looked genuinely ashamed. "He promised he would leave his wife. And he did eventually. We were together for 7 years. She twisted a bare ring finger. Until he left me for a pharmaceutical rep in her 20s. Apparently I got too old, too demanding. I felt nothing at this revelation. No satisfaction, no vindication. So your relationship built on betrayal ended in betrayal. That is hardly surprising." "No, it is not," she agreed quietly. "But that was just the beginning. The hospital politics turned against me after we split. My career stalled. I made some poor investments on his advice before he left. Now I am struggling with debt and a tarnished professional reputation." I watched her carefully, wondering if this was leading where I suspected. "And you tracked me down because—" She looked up, something like hope flickering across her face. "I saw your name in a technology magazine, an innovation award. I could not believe it was you at first, but the more I researched, the more certain I became. You have done so well for yourself, Chandler. I am proud of you." "You have no right to feel pride in my accomplishments," I said evenly. "You contributed nothing to them." "I know." She reached across the table, but I moved my hand away before she could touch it. "I know I have no right to anything from you. But when I saw how successful you had become, I realized what an incredible person I had thrown away. Someone capable of such resilience, such strength. The realization hit me with sudden clarity. You are here because you need money." Her expression confirmed it before she spoke. "I am in a difficult position. Medical school loans the mortgage on a house now worth less than I owe legal fees from the divorce." "Stop." I held up a hand. Just stop. She fell silent, watching me with desperate eyes. 10 years ago, I gave you everything I had, I said. My time, my energy, my dreams, my love. You took it all, used it to build the life you wanted, then tossed me aside when you were done. You laughed as I drove away with everything I owned packed in a truck. I was horrible, she whispered. I know that now. And yet here you are, tracking me down after a decade, not to make amends but to take more from me. I shook my head. Did you really expect that to work? I hoped. She began, then faltered. I hoped there might still be something between us, some remnant of what we once shared. For the first time since sitting down, I smiled. It was a genuine smile, not born of cruelty or satisfaction, but of release. There is nothing between us, Amanda. There has not been for a very long time. I do not hate you. I do not love you. I feel nothing for you at all. As if summoned by my words, the coffee shop door opened, and Sarah walked in. She spotted me and waved her face, lighting up with a smile that still after 2 years together made my heart skip. I had called her after arranging this meeting, asked her to join us. Is that her? Amanda asked, following my gaze. My fiancé, I confirmed. Sarah is a civil engineer. We met rock climbing. She is beautiful, Amanda said softly. She is kind, I corrected. Brilliant, supportive, genuine. We build each other up rather than tear each other down. Sarah approached our table, sensing the tension but maintaining her warm smile. I made simple introductions, watching as Amanda struggled to maintain composure. I should go, Amanda said, gathering her purse. Thank you for meeting me, Chandler. I am truly sorry for everything. I nodded. I forgive you, Amanda. Not because you deserve it, but because I deserve peace. I hope you find your way. After she left, Sarah took the seat across from me. Are you okay? She asked, reaching for my hand. I interlaced my fingers with hers, feeling the smooth metal of her engagement ring. Better than okay, I said. I feel like the final piece has fallen into place. Do you want to talk about it? Later, I promised. Right now. I just want to appreciate where I am and who I am with. That night, as Sarah slept beside me, I reflected on the strange journey that had brought me here. The betrayal that had once threatened to destroy me had ultimately been the catalyst for building a life truer to myself than I could have imagined. The pain Amanda inflicted had forced me to discover my own strength, to pursue my own dreams, rather than supporting someone else's. I realized that disappearing had not been running away, but running towards something better. Every challenge I had overcome since that day had shaped me into a person capable of genuine love and partnership, a person who valued himself enough to expect the same from others. The young man who had driven away with his life in shambles 10 years ago could never have imagined the peace and fulfillment waiting on the other side of pain. Sometimes the worst betrayals lead to the best redirection. Life continues to surprise me with its capacity for renewal. 5 years have passed since that coffee shop meeting with Amanda. Sarah and I are now parents to twin boys who constantly remind me of life's simple joys. My company has grown beyond my wildest expectations, and we recently established a scholarship fund for students working full-time while pursuing engineering degrees. I sometimes think about that pivotal moment when I chose to sign those divorce papers without a fight, to pack my belongings and disappear. It was not weakness that motivated that decision, but an instinctive understanding that fighting to hold on to something toxic would only prolong my pain. By letting go completely, I created space for something better to enter. The betrayal that once defined me has become merely a chapter in my story, not its conclusion. I learned that our worst moments do not have to be our defining ones. We all have the capacity to rebuild, to redirect our path towards something meaningful and authentic. What about you? Have you ever experienced a betrayal that initially seemed devastating, but ultimately led you somewhere better? Or are you in the middle of that painful journey right now, wondering if there really is light waiting beyond the darkness? Share your experience in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to hear more stories of overcoming life's challenges. Your support means everything to this channel. And if you know someone who might be struggling with betrayal or loss right now, sharing this video could be the encouragement they need. Thank you for listening to my journey. Remember, sometimes when a door closes painfully in your face, it is not the end of your story. It is just the universe redirecting you to the door you were actually meant to walk through all along.